I've heard countless strange stories in my life, but there's one question I can never forget, the question that began the most mysterious disappearance in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Do you believe that some rooms are still alive, even when no one lives in them anymore? The one who asked me that was Adrian Wells, a sophomore majoring in biology at the University of Michigan. He vanished on a cold, rainy night in October inside the old dormitory called North Hall, nestled deep among the oak forests on the outskirts of Ann Arbor. Police never found his body. But what they discovered inside room 202 was enough to have the entire building sealed off forever. Adrian was the quiet type, more of an observer than a talker. On the day he moved in, the dorm manager, an old man named Henderson, handed him the key with trembling hands. Some said he wanted to stop Adrian, but in the end, he only muttered one sentence. Some things from the past are better left alone. According to the journal found in Adrian's silver suitcase, the first pages were written in a shaky, hurried scrawl. He described the hallway of North Hall in a way that makes your skin crawl just from reading it. The air here is thick and damp, like a forgotten basement. The smell of rust and mold mixes into something so old and suffocating I have to hold my breath whenever I walk by. The walls are blotched and peeling, like the skin of a sick man. Under the flickering fluorescent lights, everything is coated in a dull yellow film, as if time itself had already died here. Ah! He added another line. One that police underlined in red ink. I can hear whispers, faint but real, like someone speaking behind the brick walls. It feels like the building is breathing. The air pulses, and each brick seems to expand and contract with the heartbeat of something alive. Dow. Room 202 sat right in the middle of the second-floor hallway, the perfect spot to hear echoes from both ends. Adrian wrote that when he opened the door for the first time, a rush of damp air, rotting wood, and rust spilled out, blending into a stench he described as like an animal carcass left too long in a refrigerator. The weak yellow ceiling light barely reached the corners. The room was small, 2 single beds facing each other, a cracked wooden desk in between, one leg slanted. Beside Adrian's bed stood an old wardrobe, nearly touching the ceiling. The iron handle was cold as ice, the paint flaking to reveal dark, rotten wood beneath. In the middle of the door was a deep, round dent, as if someone had once punched it with all their strength. When he opened the wardrobe for the first time, a gust of cold air poured out, thick with dust and mold. Inside was empty, except for a porcelain mannequin head sitting neatly on a shelf, positioned as if someone had placed it there deliberately to watch the door. Its once white paint had yellowed and cracked into fine lines, like veins. Its hollow eyes reflected the dim light, and its lips were pressed tight, as if trying to hold back a scream. He wrote, I stared at it for a while. I don't know why, but my heart was pounding, and my back was drenched in sweat. That head didn't look like a prop. It had an expression. There was something in its eyes, like it was waiting for me to say something. Adrian assumed it was just a forgotten art student's project, so he gently turned the porcelain head to face inward, then closed the wardrobe softly. The hinge groaned long and low, echoing through the small room like a sigh. He shivered, but thought nothing of it. Probably just rust. He sat back at his desk, opened his laptop, and tried to finish his lab report, though the image of that hollow face wouldn't leave his mind. Just an old prop, he told himself again, voice trembling slightly. He didn't know that in that very moment, the last bit of peace in that room was already gone. That night, the wind hissed through the cracked window, carrying the sound of dead leaves tapping against the wall. The entire North Hall was silent. At 3:00 a.m., Adrian woke with a start. A sound echoed through the dark, a single, sharp click like a metal latch snapping open. He opened his eyes. The room was pitch black, as if all the light had been drained away. Only a faint strip of yellow light seeped through the hallway gap, stretching across the floor, ending right at the base of the wardrobe. His heartbeat thundered. He pulled the blanket to his chest and listened. No wind, no voices. Only the pounding in his ears and the faint, slow screech of metal turning on metal like hinges creaking open from the inside. He jumped up, sweat pouring down his neck despite the cold. The air felt thick, heavy, suffocating. The sound grew louder. Creake, creake, creake. Deliberate, patient. He turned toward the wardrobe. The door was slowly opening. A chill rolled out from the crack, cold enough to sting his skin, carrying the smell of damp wood, rust, and something like wet hair. Adrian fumbled for the desk lamp. The dull yellow light spilled out, and there it was. The porcelain head. It was no longer facing inward. It was looking straight at him. Its glossy skin caught the light, making it seem almost alive. The lips were pressed tighter, the corners of the eyes streaked with something dark, as if tears had dried there. Adrian froze. In that weak light, he swore the head's hollow sockets weren't empty anymore. Something black and moving was inside, shifting slowly, like the shadow of someone breathing. His trembling hand scribbled one last note in his journal, ink smeared by sweat. I swear when I closed the door, the head was facing in. But now it's looking at me, like it just turned around. Nah, sigh. He didn't write anything more that night. But at the bottom of the page, there was a long smudged streak of ink, as if a wet finger had dragged down the paper. Days passed, and things got worse. Each morning, the wardrobe doors stood wide open, and the number of heads inside increased. 2, then 3. One had long black hair, dripping wet, forming a puddle on the floor. Adrian barely slept. The only person he talked to was Martin, his classmate, who once saw the wardrobe door swing open by itself. They told Henderson, but the old man went pale and walked away without a word. Martin later found an archived newspaper article from 1982. A female student named Claire Summers had vanished from room 202. Only her hair and fingernails were found inside the wardrobe. That night, Adrian couldn't sleep. He taped the wardrobe shut, layers and layers of duct tape, wrapping it tight like a cocoon. He stood there for a long time, staring at the sealed doors. It's over now. Nothing's going to happen, he whispered, and turned off the light. The room sank into darkness. Time crawled by. 1:0 a.m. 1:30. Then 2:07 a.m. A sound. Crack. Dot. Adrian's eyes flew open. His heart hammered. Sweat bead on his forehead. Another crack. Crack. Slow. Deliberate. The sound of tape being peeled away. From the inside. The temperature dropped sharply. His breath turned to mist in the faint light from the hall. He couldn't move. The tearing sound continued, inch by inch, as if someone inside was peeling off every strip he'd wrapped around the door. He looked toward the wardrobe. A faint glow caught the floor. Then, a pale white hand slipped out through the gap. The fingers were long, corpse white, slick like wax. They scraped softly against the floor, leaving deep marks on the tiles, then retreated into the dark. A black drop of liquid fell and shattered on the cold ground. Adrian leapt from the bed, grabbed his phone. The screen lit the room like a dying candle. He dialed Martin. "Martin, please, pick up." No answer. Just the low, endless tone. Then, a new message appeared, sent 5 minutes earlier. "Get out, now." He didn't hesitate. Adrian ran barefoot into the hallway. The wind howled through the cracks, lights flickering so fast, the walls seemed to pulse. He could swear the building itself was moving, breathing. At the end of the corridor stood a girl, her back turned, hair dripping wet, wearing a thin, clinging nightgown. The flickering light gleamed on her pale, luminous skin. Adrian called out softly, "Hey, are you okay?" She froze, then turned, slowly, impossibly slow. When her face came into view, Adrian stopped breathing. Her eyes were pure white, pupils gone. Her mouth stretched all the way to her ears, forming a soundless grin. The wind screamed down the hall, screaming for her. He never got to scream. The lights went out. Darkness swallowed everything. The next morning, Martin found Adrian collapsed outside room 202. His clothes were soaked, his lips purple, eyes wide open as if still staring at something. When he finally spoke, his voice was hoarse, shaking. "There's a tunnel inside the wardrobe." That night, the two went back. No one knows what truly happened. Police records mention a puddle of water mixed with blood near the basement stairs. Strange symbols burned into the walls with charcoal. In the center of the room, a cracked mirror, its wooden frame scorched. The security camera captured only a few seconds before cutting out. 2 men entered room 202. But in the mirror, 3 reflections. Then a scream. When the lights came back, Adrian was sitting alone on the floor. In front of him, a porcelain head, identical to Martin's face. Its eyes glistened wet. He ran to the emergency exit, locked. He turned back. The wet-haired girl stood behind him, holding a shard of broken mirror, blood dripping down her wrist. She reached out, touched his cheek, ice cold. "Stay with me, won't you?" When police arrived the next morning, Adrian was found collapsed in the hallway, drenched, muttering one name over and over. "Claire, Claire, Claire." Martin was never found. Room 202 was sealed. North Hall was shut down indefinitely, for structural safety reasons. But sometimes, night guards still see a dim light flickering behind the second-floor windows, even though the power has long been cut. Some students say that if you get close enough, you'll hear 3 faint knocks, tap, 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 cold as metal against wood. No one has seen Adrian Wells again. No social media. No records. No trace. And what still keeps me awake at night are the words of old Mr. Henderson, the former maintenance man, whom I interviewed in the hospital just days before he died. He gripped my hand and whispered, voice trembling like wind through broken glass. "Don't open that wardrobe, even if you hear someone call your name. She's still there, waiting for the next one. Nah." He smiled faintly, tears sliding down his wrinkled cheeks, and with his last breath whispered, "Because she hasn't let go yet."